World Arts Academy provides professional development for emerging, practicing, and master dance artists, teachers, administrators, and scholars through advocacy and professional development opportunities that advance dance as a performing art in educational sectors and communities throughout the world. Our faculty teaches diverse dance genres in a variety of environments including, but not limited to, K through 12 schools, dance studios, colleges, and community centers. World Arts Academy envisions dance reimagined, reflective of our differences and supportive of all who dance and teach dance. A world where dance education is equitable, accessible, valued, and preserved. Please visit our website at worldartsacademy.com to see our impressive faculty, view our workshop calendar, enjoy distance learning, or help our mission by becoming a patron.
The Danceology podcast interviews the great masters of dance, the working professionals starring in today's most exciting shows, and the rising stars ready to amp up the craft. I'm your host, Edyta Sliwinska from Dancing with the Stars. Join me as I dive into the world of dance, uncovering unique stories and the fascinating personalities of industry professionals on Danceology. Welcome to the Danceology podcast. I'm your host, Edyta Sliwinska. With me in the studio is my producer, Todd. In this summer episode of Danceology, I'm talking to a special guest, Dr. Nicole Hayre, who is a renowned dermatologist. She studied at MIT and received a medical degree from George Washington University School of Medicine. She created a skincare line called Q-Tosin based on very interesting discoveries that connect our social and love life to the appearance of our skin. I've been so intrigued with Dr. Hayre's philosophy and her product that I wanted to share it with the rest of the world. Dr. Nicole Hayre, welcome to Danceology. You are not a typical guest on our podcast. So I feel like I need to make a bit of an introduction to our listeners. So Dr. Nicole Hayre is a renowned dermatologist who studied at MIT and received medical degree from George Washington University School of Medicine. And she created a skincare line called Q-Tosin. Mm-hmm. And this is what we are going to be talking about a lot. And I've been using your product for quite a while now, and I don't want it to make it sound like an infomercial, but from the moment I started using it, my skin has changed, and I couldn't put a finger on it. So I remember I connected with you, we had a phone call, and you told me a bit about your product, how it works, and the philosophy behind it. And it was so intriguing to me, and it was so fascinating to hear how you created it, how you came up with it, that I thought I wanted to share it with the rest of the world. So here we are with Dr. Nicole Hayre. So the first question is this. We have met through a dance studio. Since we're talking about danceology, I visited a studio called Dance Boutique in Virginia, and you take lessons at that studio. So before we get into skincare, tell me why dancing out of all the hobbies, and what does dance mean to you?
Well, thank you, first of all, so much for having me on. I am a fan, and I'm so excited to be here and share all this information. I've always loved dance. I have been a dancer my whole life. I was a ballerina first. And then, through the years, unfortunately, life has taken me away a little bit from the ballet studio. I don't have an opportunity near my house easily to take lessons. But my daughter takes lessons, so that makes me so happy. And at one point I said to my husband, let's take some ballroom classes. I've always wanted to do it, and he was excited to do it too. And so we've been taking ballroom for many years now together, and we just love it. So we go to Ballroom Boutique in Reston, and we have the best time. It's honestly the highlight of my week to get to dance and have some time with my husband. And I just love dance. I've always loved dancing.
Yeah, no, that is great to hear, and I think it is a great activity for a lot of couples. It is something that connects you, that is obviously great for your health, but I think mental and physical health. So it's so nice to hear that you love dancing. But let's talk about Pitocin. You have been a dermatologist for over 20 years. And when I spoke to you, you told me that treating your patients over the years, you made certain observations that led you to creation of your skincare line. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, it's actually quite a story, and very interesting, and ties back into our love of dance, honestly. So, as you mentioned, I've been a dermatologist for over 20 years now. Hard to believe, time flies. And through the years, I've had quite a few patients who come to me, or have been coming to me from the beginning, and it's an honor, and I get to know them, and I love seeing their faces come in year after year. And there have been times through the years, through the decades, where I have noticed a change in their skin. And it can be noticeable to me even before we get to talking, before it's like, hey, what's going on? What's new? Before any of that, I see something in their skin. And it can be a positive change or a negative change. And I realized after a while that the positive changes, when they come in and their skin is just glowing and it's just radiant and smoother, and it just there's something to it, right? I get to talking to them and they have found a new love, or they got engaged, or something positive in their love life, right? And unfortunately, there have been times when I walk in and I see someone and I think, oh no, something bad happened. And it's not because they look sad. Also, their skin is depleted. It's rougher, it's sallow. It's just not radiant or glowing at all. And we get to talking, and it's happened, unfortunately, a handful of times where suddenly the spouse has dropped dead, or the spouse suddenly left unexpectedly, or something like that happened, and there's this horrible loss. And so I was thinking about it one day, and I'm like, this is a crazy thing that I'm observing. Like, we talk about the love glow, right? We talk about that, and we can even joke around about it, but there really is a difference in the skin. And I realized, I had an epiphany. I said, hold on a second. This is all due to oxytocin. Oxytocin, the love hormone, right? So when you're in love and you're getting more affection, more physical affection, more face-to-face time, smiling at one another face-to-face, your oxytocin goes up. And when you don't have these things, obviously, it's going to go down. So I started thinking, well, I'm seeing this clinically. I swear I'm seeing this clinically, but can I prove it, right? I'm a scientist. As you mentioned, I went to MIT. I'm very analytical. And so I wanted to kind of do a little research project on this. And I've been in laboratories on and off my whole life. So I'm a scientist at heart. And I said, how can I prove this? And so I recruited a handful of women, actually 6 women. And we did a standardized photography so that I could use a standardized rating system also, and rated their skin. How old did they look for their age, right? And the beauty of this system that I used is that if someone's 40 and they score a 40, they look on par for their age. And if they score a 30 and they're 40, they look very good. And vice versa, if they score a 50 and they're 40, they look older for their age, right? So it's very simple to use. So then what I did was I looked at their oxytocin level. So we looked at a snapshot in time. How much oxytocin does this person have, right? And how good do they look for their age? And I also looked at, I had a sun exposure questionnaire. So how much sun has this person had over their life? Because we all know that the sun does a lot of damage to the skin if you're not careful, right? So putting all this together, it came together beautifully, and there was a linear correlation. The higher someone's oxytocin was, the younger they looked for their age. And this was in spite of sun exposure. So that blew me away, right? Because I'm always blaming everything on the sun. But it's also a lack of oxytocin if your skin looks older. So I remember looking at this data sitting here in my office and thinking, wow, this is crazy. Like, I mean, I'm a dermatologist, board certified dermatologist, and I've never heard of this kind of stuff with the skin, right? And digging into it, it turns out that oxytocin does not just affect the skin, but it's also produced in the skin. So when you get a hug, caress, massage, your skin is stimulated to make oxytocin. And then it binds back to receptors in the skin on the fibroblasts. And what it does there is it shuts off an inflammatory pathway. And then the inflammatory pathway is bad, right? So it's causing damage. So when you have the oxytocin available, it comes in, it binds that receptor, and it shuts off that bad inflammatory pathway, and it protects your skin. So it was very, very interesting to see this all come together. And I wrote it up in a paper, and it was published in the Journal of Drugs and Dermatology. And it was actually the lead article that month. And it's just been a crazy story since.
Right. So let's pause here for a minute. So first of all, your product is based on something that is clinically studied. So one thing that a lot of women don't realize, that when you get a product on the market, the beauty product, the skincare products are not, they don't have to be FDA approved, meaning that anyone, me, you, my sister, my cousin, can go put a couple of ingredients together, as long as the ingredients are approved, obviously, create a cream or a serum, market it and sell it. It doesn't have to be tested. It doesn't have to be proven that it works or doesn't work, or how it works. So here you have this thing that you actually, at least the idea behind it, you were able to test and you were able to prove. Now, so I think that's really important to note, because there's an overwhelming amount of skincare product on the market, and to navigate through it, it's very difficult. So that is one very reassuring thing about another little proof, apart from me being happy with my skin. But I wanted to go back to oxytocin. So you mentioned that oxytocin is produced when we are in love and we are happy. Does it have any effect when you are just happy, just feeling good, or is it only when it's linked to a social, I would say, interaction, love or affection?
I'd say it is mostly social. I think that it needs to be studied further. And, part of what I wrote in that paper that I published, I said, you know what, this is a system. This is a system in our body that we were unaware of before, right? Because why would the body put energy into making your skin pretty, right? I think it goes beyond that. That was my gut feeling. There's more to this than we think. And so I dug through the medical literature, and there is preliminary research showing a positive effect in every system in the body from oxytocin. So your GI system, your neurologic system, pulmonary, endocrine, every system in your body has a positive effect from oxytocin. So I said in my paper, I said, this is a system. I call it the oxytocin social exchange system. And so the happier you are and the more social you are with others, the more social you are, the higher your oxytocin, the more vibrant and healthy you are. And then that's going to attract more social interaction, right? So if you think about it, I'm always thinking, well, how did this develop? How did humans develop over time? And how does this fit in? Well, if you were, living in caves, right, back, eons ago, who is going to survive? It's the social people, right? It's the people who are working together and relying on one another. And so this has been with us all along. And quite frankly, I think that we as modern humans don't pay enough attention to it. And I think that this is in part what's causing a lot of the anxiety these days in the youth in particular. Because you asked, is it just being happy or is it being actually social? Well, people can be happy when they see things on a phone, right? And it might make them happy. But studies have just come out showing that kids who have a lot of phone time have a very high rate of anxiety. Well, they might be happy being on their phone and looking at things on their phone, but they're not having real social interaction. It's social information, but it's not truly being social. And so they really need to get out and be face to face with their friends and interact with their friends in real time. And that's how the oxytocin is going to be boosted, and these kids will not have as high a level of anxiety. I think that oxytocin is so important to us. I'm just, honestly, it's twofold. I'm trying to get the message out about that, but also about my product, because I'm so excited.
Of course.
As you mentioned, there are so many products out there and it's so confusing, right? I mean, it can be overwhelming for ladies going to, or men going to a store, and there are all these products.
It is. There's thousands of them, and we have no idea how they were made, where they were made, what's in it really. I mean, who has enough knowledge to actually look at the ingredients and know what they do to your skin, except for like some basics, hydroquinone, hyaluronic acid or retinol.
Exactly. And so, as a dermatologist, when I was able to show clinically that oxytocin was good for your skin, I found a botanical that mimics the effect of oxytocin. And I now have a patent on this botanical. So the line Qtocin is patented, and it's a unique product out there that works off of this whole system. And what you're noticing in your skin is it's enhancing your love glow. Of course, you have love in your life with your family, but we are always torn and running as modern people, and we don't have enough time, I think, for all of these good things. And so it's just enhancing that. It's very, very powerful line. It includes all the traditional things that you need to, your antioxidants, your hyaluronic, very gentle retinol. And but when you put that patented botanical in there, and you're working off of that oxytocin system, having that kind of effect, it's just gorgeous skin.
Well, I love the idea and I love the message behind your product, because at the end of the day, my philosophy is that you can use the best products in the world. There are creams that cost, nearly $1,000, or probably there are ones that cost thousands of dollars. I always believed, my philosophy is that the health and your skin, the way it looks, it goes from within. So no matter what cream you're going to put on your face, if you don't exercise, if you don't eat well, if you don't drink enough water, and now, as we found out, if you are not happy, your skin is not going to look good. And I think that is what is absolutely, that can really revolutionize the way we think about skincare. So now the way we feel and how we interact with other people can also affect the way we look. And yes, then we have products that can help. And I absolutely believe that these do help and these do work. And I talk, I've been sharing with my not listeners, but with my followers on Instagram, the lymphatic massage, for example. Well, it cannot make you lose weight and make all your problems go away, but it will enhance the way you feel. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to release all the toxins from your body. So I think it's always a combination. It's always a whole package that needs to come together, and that's why I think your Pitocin is so incredibly special.
Thank you. Edyta, you also touched on something that's so important. So you mentioned, we need to put into our routines diet and exercise and drinking enough water. So I want everybody to add in there getting a good hug. You need to get a good hug every day. You really, honestly, it
cheers and hug.
Pitocin. Ever since my research years ago, I've been, I'll go up to my husband. I'll be like, okay, I need my oxytocin, and I just get this.
I need my hug.
And it helps. The stress of the day just melts away. You feel better.
I do believe in that, and I do believe that this is a message that we really want to share. I get a lot of hugs from my kids, but the truth is, I get a lot of social interaction because of my family life. But there are a lot of very lonely people out there, and I think COVID proved how incredibly detrimental it is to your mental and physical health. The isolation.
Absolutely. And you know what? There are studies showing that actually snuggling up with a dog, can raise your oxytocin. So having a pet helps your oxytocin. In particular, I know dogs do. Now, I don't know about cats. They haven't done a study on cats, but dogs, they have proven it. When their oxytocin is low, they come and they snuggle next to you, and theirs goes up, and so does yours. There are also other things that people can do. So, they can go out with a friend, or they can get a massage, or there's a study showing that if you like to sing and you sing, your oxytocin level goes up. I'm 100% certain it goes up if you like to dance and you're out there dancing. Absolutely. So there are other ways other than just romance how to get your oxytocin.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to release your oxytocin than dancing, particularly dancing with a partner. You listen to music, you moving, and then you have this social interaction with your partner. It's physical and mental contact. So there you go. Yay for dancing.
Absolutely.
So Dr. Hayre, you spoke at a United Nations Global Conference. Can you tell me how did it come about? Why did you get invited? And I know you spoke about your discoveries. What was the reception of the audience members?
It was so much fun, and it was such an honor to speak at the United Nations in New York. So, I meet a lot of people through my business here, through my office. And so my research, we've been talking about it here in the office for quite a while. And so through the grapevine, someone running the conference heard about it, and they said, oh my gosh, you need to come. And so I was invited to speak at a global think tank conference, and I was on a healthcare panel. And I didn't even talk about Pitocin. I just talked about, the theory behind it. And if you want to watch the talk, it's actually on my Pitocin website. If you go to press, it's pinned at the top there under press. And it's very interesting because I go through all of this about how oxytocin affects your health and how it's affecting our modern lives, and how we need to kind of reverse course and kind of go back to some good old fashioned human interaction. And the crowd loved it. They loved it. It was the talk of the conference by the end, and it was so exciting for me. And it's just honestly so validating that this is exciting. It touches people's lives. They connect to this message. And not only that, I was able to find a botanical and have that patented and put into the skincare line that also people feel so passionately about. So it's just been exciting to go from this observation and this kind of epiphany in my office to where it is today. And honestly, it's an honor.
Well, you mentioned that people are so passionate about it, about your product, and I can absolutely believe it. I am certainly. You told me a story that I believe happened during COVID, when you had some back orders, when you couldn't deliver your product to your clients. Tell me what happened.
Yes, it was COVID, as you mentioned. So manufacturing sometimes wasn't as smooth. We had some supply chain issues, and I had people already on Qtocin, and they loved it. At the time, we only had the cream, but the cream it's phenomenal to workhorse. Has everything in it you need. It has antioxidants, peptides, retinol, and the patented ingredient. And so I knew that people are hooked on it. People would get very upset, though, when we ran out. And in particular, I had this one lady come in, and she was getting her Botox done, and one of her children was getting married in a couple weeks, and I knew she was a big Qtocin fan, and we were out. And so I said, by the way, I know you're on Qtocin. She said, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. And I said, well, we're out. And you should have seen her face. She panicked. She almost kind of grabbed the chair, like, what do you mean you're out? And I said, look, here's what you're going to do. I said, save what you have now. And then, like, about 4 days before the event, go back on it so that you have enough. And she was like, okay, that's what I'll do. But then aside from that story, I mean, we would tell people like, oh, I'm so sorry, we ran out. And I've sold creams before that had, all of these things in it, except not the botanical, right? They had antioxidants, they had peptides, they had a retinol. But I've never seen such passion about a cream before. And when we would run out, people would panic. And then when we got it back in, again, I've never seen this before. People bought 3 or 4 at a time because they were worried that the same thing would happen and we would run out again, and they didn't want to be without it. So I love it. It's again, so I'm honored that people feel so passionately about it. We came out with the serum, and I have a patient who drives several hours to get to my office. And when she was here, I said, hey, why don't you try the serum? Use the serum in the morning and the cream at night. And she started on the serum, and then we got a call 3 weeks later, and she bought 5 of them. So it was a hit. I mean, again, I've been selling other skincare. I have another line of my own that for 20 years I've been selling other skincare, and I've never seen people react so strongly like they do to Qtocin.
To be honest with you, I've never seen anything like that either. Even with my experience, I've used many products and I change them all the time, trying new things. I never had a thought, when something became unavailable or discontinued, I never panicked. I mean, there's about millions of options out there that you can replace every single product with. So it is quite remarkable.
Thank you.
So you're an amazing scientist and inventor, and obviously you're a dermatologist. You've been one for so many years, but you are not necessarily a marketer. And I know you're trying to get your product out there. Tell me about the struggles and about the obstacles that you have met trying to promote your message and this amazing product.
It is a struggle, and I thank you for bringing that up. It's, people don't understand. They think you just put something online and everybody's going to know about it. And it's not that simple. We're a huge hit here in the office, obviously, as I've been mentioning. But I want to get the word out and have a more national footprint. And we do have sales across the nation at this point, but not nearly what I would love. And, I've interviewed with a lot of magazines. We've been in a lot of magazines. But I think that people kind of need to hear things a bunch of times before they take the plunge. So, we've been in big name magazines, and it's just one of those things. We've even had headlines in magazines, Qtocin, the skincare you've been waiting for. Like an article like that will come out, and I'm like, yes, this is awesome. They get it, right? They understand this is something completely different. and then nothing really seems to happen. So I'm so honored that you are taking the time to help me get the word out, because I know you have a lot of loyal followers, and I think that they would love the product. So we're doing a promotion, Dance20. If you put that code in when you order, you'll get 20%.
Okay, but you have to get the product, and then you have to go take some dance lessons. It works the best that way.
Yes, that will help you twofold, right? You get your oxytocin from the dancing, and then you have your botanical on to help with your skin too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that offer. I think it will be very helpful for that first buy. A bit of a discount always helps. it's encouraging.
I know it's scary for some people. They're like, well, is this really different? Is it really something unique? It is. This is, truly unique. It's patented. There's nothing else like it on the market. This is unique science. This is coming at skincare with a different angle, but it still addresses all those other things that people want. We have hyaluronic acid, antioxidants, peptides, retinol. All those things are in the line. And so you're not going to miss out on anything else if you want to try out, what does this botanical do for my skin? And it's crazy to think now, but 30 years ago or so, people weren't really putting antioxidants in their products the way they do now. Now it seems like a no-brainer, but many, many years ago, they weren't. And it was kind of revolutionary when that concept came out, that you need to eat healthy for your skin and take vitamins and also apply them to your skin. Well, fast forward, here we are, but the message is all about love.
Yeah, but this might become an ingredient that's going to be that necessary ingredient in skincare product. But you're right. There's so much. I think it's very hard to get the message through because there's so much noise out there. There's so many things that you're bombarded with advertising all the time. And I didn't know about your product and how it works until I spoke to you. And the reason why I got intrigued is because, as I said, I noticed a difference in my skin and I couldn't put a finger on it. I will even tell you this, which is a little bit embarrassing. I'm a 45-year-old woman, but around that time when I started using your product, I stopped using makeup, like foundation, because I felt so good about my skin. I would never go without makeup, or hardly ever. I've been dealing with some melasma and dark spots. I wasn't confident enough to, obviously I can go to a gym or for a run, but through my day, I would always wear makeup. Ever since I started using Pitocin, I wear makeup only for special occasions. Like today, I wear a little bit of foundation, and I feel great about it. And another thing is, without wearing makeup, I would have people stop me, and I'm not, it is a little bit embarrassing. I don't want to sound like I'm, boasting, but I even told my husband, I don't know what happened, but like recently, someone in a supermarket would say, "Oh, not about my skin." They would just say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," or would just start chatting to me and "Where are you from?" and have a great day. But kind of, you can tell that they are doing it because there's certain attraction going on there. I don't want it to make it sound wrong.
It's true. I mean, you're gorgeous, and your skin is radiant, and you're going to attract attention that way. But when the skin is healthy and radiant like that, there is something about it. That's why people talk about the love glow. And this is love for your skin.
Right? And I think that's why we produce it too. Yeah, to attract that.
Yeah, it's
so
skin.
So I did notice that correlation. My skin looks better. I felt better. I got more compliments. So that was kind of an interesting thing. All right. So have you ever met, switch subjects here, any pushback from a skincare community, from other brands? Because I would think big brands that create, the multi-billion-dollar brands, L'Oreal and so on, I think they would be very interested in your product. Have you ever thought about perhaps approaching and cooperating with these brands, or even selling your patent, selling your product, and getting it out there that way?
Yeah, well, you never know what the future brings. Right now, I am just trying to get the word out on my own. I have a couple of times been offered possibly, through the grapevine to meet with someone in a very big company. I don't want to name names right now, but you never know. You never know what the future brings. I know in my heart of hearts that this is a revolutionary product based on groundbreaking science, and that someday we're going to look back and say, you know what? I can't believe it was hard to get the word out. Now everybody knows about it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I just know that it will happen someday because it is important. And I see how strongly people react to the message. Like, I play the United Nations video in my office. We play other videos too, but if that one happens to come up on the loop and a patient's been in the room and then I walk in, there are times they're so excited about just the message of that science that they almost forget why they're in my office. And they're jumping out of the chair excited and they want to talk more about it. And, it is a very important human message. And so putting all these things together, I know that someday we're gonna get the word out. Hopefully you and I are doing it today, but we will get the word out.
Yeah, I'm truly happy to be part of this process, and if I can help in any way, that's basically my goal, because I do believe that what you're doing, it's remarkable, it's special and revolutionary, and as you said, based on real research and real science. All right, well, before we finish, can you please tell our listeners, how can we find you on social media? Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Sure. So I mentioned before that the line started with the cream. So I thought maybe I'd explain a little how what we have in the line and how you use it. So the cream is your fully loaded product and you put that on at night. And then I came out with the serum, which is a beautiful hyaluronic-based serum. And everything in the line has the patented botanical. And so that goes on in the morning. If someone's very, very sensitive with their skin, they might just use the serum twice a day. But most people, like 99% of the people, are using the serum in the morning and the cream at night. I also came out with an exfoliating pad called Weekly Rendezvous exfoliating pad. So it gives you that little something on your skin. Nice, gentle formulation. And what you do is once a week, wipe it on your skin, wait maybe 10 minutes, rinse off. Your skin is baby smooth and everything will penetrate better when you put your other products on. And lastly, right now, we also have an SPF. And it's a beautiful tinted formulation. The tint works for most people. We're still a small company, so we only have the one tint, but it does blend for most people. Eventually, I would love to come out with some more shades. It looks almost like a foundation when it's on its zinc oxide, so that gives you the broadest spectrum block. It's not just the number of the block, it's also how much of the UV spectrum that it blocks. This is a mineral block, so it blocks the broadest spectrum. It's zinc oxide, SPF 40, and again, it has the patented botanical in it. And you can learn more about this at cutocin.com, which is CUTOCIN. And we were talking about my talk. It's under the press button there. And on social, we're Cutocin Skincare. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and we have a couple of things up on YouTube.
Right. So a couple of points as I was listening to you. Your sunscreen is phenomenal. And this is something that, as you know, with a lot of women, and every woman should use on a daily basis. And basically, that's what I've been wearing for most of the days lately. I absolutely love it. It feels like velvet on your skin and has all the good stuff in it. So all these products can be standing alone or can be supplement with perhaps other products if you feel like you need to moisturize more. But yes, sunscreen was actually one of the first products that I thought that's what makes my skin look better. I used the serum, I used the cream, but then I would put the sunscreen with the low tint and with the low velvet that would make sure skin looks smooth. And I thought that was it. But then I don't think so, because my skin, even when I washed it off and I had nothing on, it just looked better. So I guess the message is, you guys stay healthy, eat well, exercise, drink water, get many hugs, perhaps take some dance lessons, and try Pitocin, because it's really fantastic. And the message behind it is something that I think the world needs today more than anything. That's social interaction. Have a dinner with someone, have a conversation, get a hug your pet, hug your husband.
Exactly.
Well, Dr. Hayre, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your contribution to making us look better and feel happier.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. And thank you again. I can't thank you enough. I'm glad you love the product.
I really do. I surely do. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Danceology podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at danceologypodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Instagram and Facebook at Danceology Podcast and available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Please take a moment to listen to some other podcast offerings from Metacortex Publishing.
A quest is a search for something. And every week, the Quest podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. I'm your host, Todd Fisher. Join me in this thought-provoking and inspiring podcast of discovery. Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Every year, tennis players from around the world compete for excellence, triumphing against all odds to emerge the champions. I'm your host, Maddie Harrison. Join me as I get up close and personal with these dynamic individuals and find out what it takes to go for greatness. Let's go beyond the match.
Hi, I'm Father Daniel Duplantis, a Catholic priest, martial artist, and host of the Karate Priest podcast. Have you ever wondered what the church teaches about different topics? Are you a martial arts enthusiast or just someone who wants to learn more about martial arts? I'd like to invite you to join me and many guests on my podcast as we cover topics of faith, everyday living, and martial arts on the Karate Priest podcast.
The No Earthly Explanation podcast investigates the things that are unexplainable, hosted by world-renowned investigative researcher Donald R. Schmidt and scientist Ellie Ringo. Follow them as they look for evidence for things that have no earthly explanation. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Cult Following is a podcast that studies the personalities and common traits of cult leaders and their followers. Get the real story behind these infamous and oftentimes tragic cults from a new perspective, through exhaustive research, and from interviews with people that were there. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fisher and Anthony Smith and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.